So who is the smug kid on the right, I hear you ask? Well, that's my son Adam, and for a 24-hour period a couple of years ago, while we were in London visiting Legoland, he was the richest person in our family. Why? Well, Visa had a European-wide service outage that meant we couldn't withdraw any cash. So Adam, with a sum total of £45 sterling in his little Velcro wallet, was now our chief holiday financier. And for a moment, I panicked as I tried to figure out how we were going to pay for food, transport, and accommodation in a foreign country without access to our bank accounts. It was a situation that made me acutely aware of how dependent we've become on software systems and of how utterly vulnerable and helpless it can make us feel when they don't work. But it also made me think about the teams of engineers that were scrambling in the background to trying to resolve the issue. I've been there myself. I could almost feel the sense of pressure, the stress, and the subsequent shame that they'd have to endure. Within minutes, the outage was plastered all over social media and with hours all over in mainstream news. I could almost hear the blame-laden questions being asked by senior management. How could this have happened? Why didn't we test for this? So without adequately managing the complexity of our systems, they'll fail with horrible consequences. So there are real costs to software failure, financial and human, for both our users and the people building and operating our software systems. So the question becomes, how can we deliver value to our customers quickly, reliably, and sustainably when we're working in this increasingly complex world where everything is connected, change is continuous, and failure can be catastrophic? Even though Glofox, where I work, is a relatively small company, we find ourselves working with a hugely complex distributed system. We've got dozens of interconnected services that are constantly changing and evolving, deployed to a cloud platform, in our case AWS, that we can't rely upon. All cloud providers have outages. And we're integrating against third-party services like Stripe, whose APIs and responsiveness can change at a moment's notice. In contrast, when I started in the software industry, I think it was 15 years ago, we had these all-encompassing big bang releases of a monolith. And when it went wrong, it went very, very wrong, and everyone knew. Whereas now we have a constant stream of releases and lots of little failures that may not even be noticed. So we have to assume our systems are constantly in a state of partial failure. So this scary new world presents a whole new set of challenges and risks, and consequently requires an entirely new approach to dealing with those risks. So managing risk effectively is the key to delivering value to our customers quickly, reliably, and sustainably. Testability, as you can see it here on the left, allows us to manage the risks that we can imagine, while operability allows us to deal with the realities we cannot. So what I've seen over the last 6 years of working with these complex systems is that today's high-performing teams have learned to design testability and operability into their systems from the very start. And it's testability and operability that allows them to manage complexity and the associated risks. So what I've seen in teams with low testability and operabilities are that they're low performers. Their testing is slow and ineffective. And when they have production issues, the impact is huge on the team, the business, and their customers. By improving testability, teams are enabled to make more informed decisions on the risks they can imagine or anticipate. They can do broader, deeper, more representative testing with less effort and in less time. This reduces the likelihood of introducing a failure with a change, so it allows teams to move quickly with confidence. While by improving operability, it allows teams to deal with the realities that they could not anticipate, or in other words, deal with the reality of production issues. So remember, failure is inevitable in complex systems, but by focusing on operability, it allows teams to minimize the impact of failure when it does occur. So the combination of high testability and high operability provides us a hugely powerful mechanism for managing complexity and the associated risks. Testability reduces the likelihood of failure, while operability reduces the impact of failure. And this allows teams to deliver quality software at breakneck speeds. So this approach makes sense when we consider the Accelerate metrics from the Accelerate book by Nicole Forsgren. These metrics are predictive of high-performing teams. So focusing on testability drives throughput in terms of the Accelerate metrics. This means we can reduce lead time for change and increase deployment frequency, which ultimately minimizes the time and effort to ship changes to production. And our focus on operability drives stability in production in terms of reducing our change failure rate and reducing our mean time to recover, which ultimately minimizes the time and effort our teams spend dealing with quality problems in production. So testability and operability combined allow us to achieve optimized flow by accelerating the delivery of value and minimizing the cost of poor quality. So that's great, but how do we get there? So we need to cultivate an environment in which an amazing delivery team experience will emerge. And we need to create safe spaces where everyone involved in building, testing, deploying, and operating the software is encouraged to share their experiences openly and honestly. Where managers, developers, testers, UX, product operations, and support are empowered to visualize the challenges that they face as part of the team, socialize the impact of those problems, both on individuals and the team as a whole. And then most importantly, to give the teams the time and space to work together to overcome their biggest challenges. Because if there's one thing that I've learned in the last 6 years of working in this complex new world, it's that when you optimize for a great whole team experience, you get happy, high-performing teams as a second order effect. My name is Robert Meaney. Thank you very much.